Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis, and today I want to go over the TWAB for May 18th. Shout out to my bro, happy birthday, in case you see this, but we will be discussing both the exotic armor and exotic weapons and weapon tuning articles from last week and this week on the podcast tonight. So tune in for that one if you want to discuss those. We'll cover this stuff too. But those are probably a little deeper dives. So those will be probably the meaty part of the podcast. I hadn't done a video on either of them yet. I was kind of out of it last week with surgery. So back to the podcast tonight. So those will be, if you want to check out our thoughts on those, kind of let the dust settle and all that stuff, we'll see how everything goes. Today for the TWAB, last week they did a preview of some armor and weapons. Guardian Games is going. New dungeon. We do know the dungeon will be on Friday, May 26th at reset. So I will be doing that live. I will be working on a guide, all of that stuff as soon as possible. You know me in dungeons, they're kind of some of my favorite things. So now they have some updates here. So Rahul's getting exotic Engram focusing with tier 1 and tier 2. There's the deep sight harmonizer, so you can kind of turn on deep sight for weapons that you're trying to craft from previously. Changes to crafting costs. Sandbox tuning, and this is again like the weapon stuff. You've got the exotic armor tuning, abilities tuning. A lot of stuff is changing as usual in seasons. Quality of life stuff, new Vanguard bounties, Finest Matterweave and Rainmaker. You can just finally consume them and get the material. Good Boy Protocol is coming back. Always a good thing. And certain tribes now boost the raid exotic drop rate. I literally actually just got my 1K voices probably this past week when I was helping some buddies with a birthday raid. But I still need to get Eyes of Tomorrow. And probably both of those, actually. So, at some point I'll get those. Crucible updates. I know the Flawless Pool is going to have its kind of two options. New quest. Going to be Dominion. I'm kind of really curious to see how that goes. And you got some Flawless Seal and some Flawless Bounties and stuff like that. Now, we've got the new aspects and fragments here. Now, you're not going to be able to hear it, but the idea is, like, as you play through, now you'll see him dodge, and that's the Hunter Strand aspect. So, Threaded Spectre. When things get close, it will explode, draws attention, kind of pulls aggro, and then sends threadlings out when it's done, so you've actually got some cool potential there. For the Titan, this one actually looks better than I thought it would. So you do a charged, activate your charged melee. So while sliding, activate your charged melee to leap into the air. So we'll see that part first. So that little burst that you can see right here, that little pulse, that's the one that's close. That's going to knock nearby targets away and deal some damage. I don't know if it would suspend. It would be kind of cool if it would, but no. While airborne, activate your charged melee to throw a cluster of damaging, unraveling projectiles, and then just keep chunking it. And he throws a lot, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like 5 chunks of projectiles just from one charged melee. That's kind of big. So now we know melee, actually from the artifact, we'll talk about melees are going to be more important. So that'll be cool. And then Warlock Strand the Wanderer tangles you throw attached to enemies and detonate into a suspending burst. So a little less exciting, but when you throw a tangle and it explodes, definitely gets more suspension in for Warlocks. Because like Titan I can suspend all the time, but more ways to have some suspend is actually going to be a good thing. So those are your new aspects coming. The refundable artifact. So you will be able to refund individual things. Seasonal artifact will change a bit with Nightfall. Mods from the artifact change into perks. We know that one because they're just on all the time starting in Season of the Deep. You will have the option to refund perks from the artifact individually, one by one. So adapting to each activity and crafting the most focused build. So you can switch them back and forth a little quicker, which is good. And we get a preview of the artifact. So get your brain, get your thinking cap working now. So, anti-barrier, we have auto rifle. That is all. You have anti-barrier auto rifles. So, your exotics that do anti-barrier, specifically Wish Ender or Revision 0. I kind of think less about Ariana's Vow at this point. It just doesn't seem to be worth the slot. But Wish Ender or Revision 0 both have a lot of potential there. So, keep that in mind. Overloads, we've got Scouts and Trace Rifles. Finally seeing Trace Rifles come in. So, uninterrupted fire with the Trace Rifle will get you a stun. It's got potential because it gives you a reason to use especially some of those exotics. I mean, something like Agger's Scepter in Overload already is going to do some of that stuff anyway because it'll freeze. So if you slow them, you'd stun them anyway. So, but you can use something like Cold Heart, get your arc damage, and getting some arc damage back. You'll see arc is actually going to be a big thing this season, so that actually has some cool potential. Scout rifles for Overload. Now, Overload is all about that consistent damage. So what you're going to be wanting for Overload scouts is something along the lines of an explosive payload scout rifle. Though I don't think they do timed payload on scout rifles, so it's just explosive payload. So remember when I've said, like, hey, keep a scout rifle or two with explosive payload, like Taraxipos, for example, they give you one? Keep it, because that explosive payload hits twice. And that allows you to stun overloads quicker, keep that stun consistency on them, and my dogs are seeing something outside, so... Gotta love live recordings, my apologies, but I'm sure just somebody's outside. Unstoppable Glaive and Unstoppable Hand Cannon. Glaives will be interesting. They have some potential sometimes. I don't typically find a time where I love them yet, but maybe someday they'll get there. Unstoppable Hand Cannons. Now, for Unstoppable, you got a lot of options. So, honestly, a lot of the time, I think if it comes to an Unstoppable Hand Cannon, I will still probably go with something like Strand if I can. You can do Stasis, where you freeze, and then Shatter. So, you've got other options. But, you know, start digging through hand cannons, see what you got. I don't love hand cannons in PvE, but we'll see how that plays out. Column 2. So all these mods, remember, most of them when they go cheap, they go like 1 energy, maybe 2. So Arc, Void, and Strand, those are your 3 subclasses that are going to be cheaper. So it's going to probably be like Strand and Void and Strand and Arc for kind of like activities this season. Melee this time. So melee mods being cheaper, and then you see that Titan melee up above. That's got some potential. So keep that in mind. Technicolor Siphon grants a helmet armor mod that combines the effects of Strand and Arc. They really are probably going to be pushing Arc this season. So get your Arc loadout thoughts going on, because I think those could be some fun. All right, sorry about that. Okay, column 3. So increases the amount of damage dealt by unraveling a target. Deeper Origins greatly improve the benefits of Unsated Hunger, Nano Tracer Rockets, Harmonic Resonance, and Noble Deeds. Onto the Breach. Defeating a Void debuff target creates a Void Breach while your Void subclass is equipped. So if you get a Void debuff, whether it be Weaken or anything else, you're going to create a Void Breach. So there's more about Void Breaches, so keep that kind of in your mind to think about what builds to go for there. Stay amplified longer while your Arc subclass is equipped. There's some benefits to that. We'll get there. Thunderous Retort. This is one of those I just don't like. And I know that sounds like kind of annoying, but grants bonus arc super damage if cast while critically wounded or amplified. Now, the amplified isn't a bad thing. If you get amplified, that lasts longer, you can do that. But anything where it's like, in case you're critically wounded, I just don't want to like be almost dead and then go super. That seems risky. Anyway, the amplified part has potential because, you know, electric, like literally put these two together, you're leaning into arc a lot. And you'll see it could be some fun. Column 4. Your strand weapons gain unraveling rounds whenever you gain woven mail while your strand subclass is equipped. So if you have a good way to get woven mail, you can get unraveling rounds a lot more frequently. Overcharged armory. Weapons with those same origin traits are always overcharged when the modifier is active, so overcharged weapons, those can be part of it. Picking up a Void Breach grants you an Overshield or refreshes your existing Overshield. So if you defeat a Void debuff target, Weaken, Volatile, whatever, pick up a Void Breach gives you an Overshield. You can have a nice little cycle going there. Gain a stack of Armor Charge when you stun a champion. Not a bad thing. And gain damage resistance while amplified. So if you are being aggressive, amplified is kind of going to be part of the play. Column 5, usually the fun stuff. Lightning strikes twice. I'll start at the bottom. Arc throwing. After throwing an arc grenade, gain increased grenade recharge for a short time. Arc final blows extend the duration. If you throw a grenade, get kills, or arc weapon kills, really playing like full arc could actually have some fun potential. I'm going to have to mess around with that quite a bit. Targets affected by strand debuffs take increased damage from arc and void abilities. So if you are targets affected by strand debuffs, so if you can get a weapon to have like unraveling rounds or whatever it may be, take increased damage from arc and void abilities. Maybe a good team player thing, but kind of weird that helps those, because most of your strand debuffs are going to come while you're using a strand subclass, at least for me they would. as a Titan. Increased Arc or Void abilities. I will have to see how that plays out. Arc Final Blows, while you are amplified, summon a burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets. Now that has potential if it's on the target. Could be cool. Picking up a Void Breach causes your next source of void damage to create a large weakening pulse. Now, if it's like the artifact helmet or anything along those lines, that could be cool. Like you literally pick up the breach and your next just shot weakens things, and then you can go through the cycle of, you know, defeating a void debuff target with it creates a void breach. Picking up a void breach causes your next source. You got a nice cycle there with a void weaken as well. And then if you pick up a void breach, you also get an overshield. So you guys see where some of the synergy is going to come into play. Decent amount of void, decent amount of arc. Strand will have some. Squad goals. Now I haven't read through these. Performing a finisher while you are amplified grants amplified to nearby allies when your arc subclass is equipped. Performing a finisher while you have woven mail grants woven mail to nearby allies if you're strand. Performing a finisher while you have a devour grants devour to nearby allies. So that's if you're running as a group. And the lightning strikes twice as the arc grenades. So yeah, like shock and awe and lightning strikes twice. Could be fun. Yeah, that's gonna, like, I mean, you throw an arc grenade, you get arc final blows, then you get lightning and jolting, and then you lean into, yeah, it's both arc and void I think are gonna be fun. I will be curious how Strand feels after this current season. I'll be curious how Strand feels in season 21, just due to the fact that it's like kind of losing some of its buff. Now this is like a accessibility thing and also kind of a background thing. Shields used to look like this, or shields look like this right now. So if you see this guy with a shield, now they're gonna look like this. They're just gonna have that big, like, kind of oval around them. Maybe it's easier to spot. We'll just have to see, but that's kind of what they're going with. Also, it's for accessibility. Now, the immunity shields, the white ones, specifically on bosses and certain things, they're not touching because they don't want to make, like, a boss that should have damage phases not. So, they're afraid of breaking things, which is fair. But for the time being, they are changing up shields, mostly just a looks thing. And accessibility helps. Hopefully it just makes them easier for like colorblind options, things like that. Hopefully it helps. Stabilizing. I'm just going to read this verbatim because they talk about... actually, I'm not. I read through it once. Servers and stuff have been rough. Weekly patches have been a little bit rough. They updated some code where they, you know, for Nightfall, obviously, to be able to handle new things. The problem was... background updates, where they usually would do the server prep beforehand, aren't quite working the same way. So they're going to go for Tuesdays to have about an hour and a half of downtime on update days. So it's probably going to go before like the Tuesday reset. So right now for me, it's noon is the weekly reset on Tuesday. So servers would probably go down to like 10:30 my time, somewhere in that ballpark. Bigger if it's something more important. That'll kind of allow them to do their maintenance, knock it out. So you'll have a little more downtime than like the 15 minutes they had. But if they have more stability, I'm okay with that. Guardian Games is coming to an end. I think Titans technically already won, so go Titans. Any other fundraisers and donations and points that you guys are going for, keep it going. They've got their Asians with Destiny article through here. A good read through. Nice pin to support. AA NHPI. I don't know what all that stands for. So anybody else with more of the... I guess knowledge in that department, feel free to throw that in there. Then also gifting Twitch subs if you want to support your content creators. Cough cough Mimi. It is a nice way for you to get an emblem. Again, you donate 2 subs to the channel and you got to make sure everything's on. So check with the content creators. You know I'll be streaming some as I do a little bounty prep this week and other things. But I think it starts on the 28th, it says. Those who have completed the Twitch sub bounty can collect their new... So if you just head to our Destiny 2 Twitch extension support article over here. So basically, if you donate 2 subs to a channel, you'll get this emblem. So reminds me of like a company I used to work for, but it's still kind of cool. Player support, we've got some updates there. On Tuesday, the 23rd, for Season the Deep, we've got about 2 hours of downtime. Normal reset is going to be 10 a.m., as it usually is for Pacific time. But downtime, it's being brought offline at 8:15. So about 2 hours before, they may bump that to 8. So don't leave anything to that last 15 minutes. Do it the night before. Got some Bungie rewards, previous season pass, clean out all your vendors, clean out all your Engrams. Do everything you need to do like Monday night, because Tuesday morning, I wouldn't bet on stuff being there. You got your art and stuff of the week. And Under the Sea, I haven't looked through all those, but there's some good art. And then finally, I think this is Bruno. Less than a week before Season Deep, don't forget to finish those seasonal challenges. Get your last Traxipos. Seriously, if you don't have an explosive payload or you didn't keep the original one, make sure you try and get one. Clean out some vault space and other stuff like that. So, that is the TWAB. Sorry about the dog interruption. Hopefully I can crop that thing pretty well. But tune in tonight for the podcast. We're going to go over the exotic weapons, armor, all that stuff that's kind of been talked about. This stuff in here is a little on the minor side, so hopefully this covers everything you need. But starting Tuesday, I'll be streaming the new season, see what's up with the story, see how they handle, being as we are not going to have a war table of upgrades to go through. It's going to be done in a different way. I will be curious how that goes. You know the channel's going to drop. We are less than 1,000 subs away on YouTube from 100K. If you are new to the channel, if you know anybody, tell them to hit that subscribe button. Get to 100K would be fantastic. I can't believe I'm still this close. And then, of course, we're going to do new season guides, dungeon stream on Friday, dungeon guide as soon as I can get it up after Friday. So stay tuned. Lots of stuff coming your way. If you want to support me, easy thing to do is hit that subscribe button right now. And other than that, hope to see you guys soon. Have a good one.